There are many passages and chambers throughout the remarkable monuments and structures of Egypt, some found but some still remain hidden. I will ponder the possibility that one or more of these monuments could contain a hall of records from an ancient lost civilization. I will not be exploring the origins of this civilization, as I have done that in depth in my video called Convincing You Atlantis Existed. In order to truly understand the big picture these days, you have to bring together knowledge from different fields. One problem today is that scientists in different fields rarely compare notes. An archaeologist digs in the ground. He doesn't focus on the sky. An astronomer focuses on the stars. He doesn't look to the ground. Because of this, they overlook the fact that many monuments mirror stars in the sky at certain points in history. Instead, it's up to men and women with no degrees on the side of alternative history to really bring to attention the staggering amount of new evidence that has been discovered over the last few decades. The Great Pyramids of Giza have captivated millions of people around the world. We don't know how they were built, but there are many theories. One thing is for sure, these are architectural wonders. Most people are not aware that each of the Great Pyramids was a different color. One was black, one was red, and the other was white. There are many chambers and passages through the pyramids. There are even hidden ones. One in particular was hidden behind a wall that was blown up by dynamite. No inscriptions or bodies have ever been found inside the pyramids. You'd think that a megalomaniac pharaoh would want to leave behind a clear record of who built these perfect megalithic structures. In the Queen's Chamber of the Great Pyramids there were found two small shafts. They had previously had approximately 3 inches of stone blocking them, before one archaeologist went around the room tapping on the walls with a small hammer. Where did these shafts lead, and why were they hidden? I want to turn my attention to one shaft in particular. A small robot was sent in to explore it. It does not lead to the outside of the pyramid. Instead, this shaft ends at a chamber with a door. A team again brought a small robot to drill a hole through this door. What did they find? Another door. We still to this day don't know what's behind that one. What are behind these doors? Could it be an ancient hall of records? Maybe they were hidden and meant to be kept safe until the human evolution of thinking had evolved enough to understand the information. I believe it was the famous mystic Edgar Cayce that said there wasn't one hall of records but several hidden around the world. It was Edgar Cayce who predicted the Hall of Records of Atlantis will be found beneath the paw of the Sphinx. In 1987 there was a cavity found under the Sphinx's paw. It is also known that there are passages inside of the Sphinx. Zahi Hawass did a piece for television about them, but we were not allowed to go all of the way inside. Zahi says it's because they are worried about the structure of the statue. Maybe that is the case, but we will talk more about Zahi Hawass in a little bit. Could it be possible that these passages lead us to a hall of records as Edgar Cayce predicted? Why is it that these passages are barely ever talked about or explored? We would know so much more if the modern academic community would learn how to consider new possibilities. It is these men and women that suppress information that conflicts with their own views. Such has been the case for hundreds of years. New ideas are always ridiculed and attacked until it comes time when it can't be denied any longer. There was a time that all of us would be burned at the stake for daring to express new ideas. These men and women have dedicated their lives to teaching and studying in their respective fields. Admitting they may have been wrong would mean they have been teaching inaccurate information to mass amounts of students. Now suddenly their reputations are all on the line. Zahi Hawass was for the better part of 20 years the most important man in Egyptology. Not much at Egypt could be done without Zahi's permission. He frequently made it extremely difficult or impossible for researchers in the field of alternate history to conduct work on the Giza Plateau. Zahi has on more than one occasion stopped researchers from continuing once they have found something that might contradict the academic reconstruction of the historical timeline. I listened to Zahi, and then I listened to a man like John Anthony West. West has no formal degree, but his knowledge of Egypt is immense, and his research has been very important to the field of alternative history. It was him and Robert Schoch that first brought the water erosion evidence on the Sphinx to the attention of the public. This erosion proves that the Sphinx is much older than it is thought to be. Graham Hancock may be the leading researcher in the field of alternative history, which is not recognized as an actual field. People like him are labeled as pseudoscientists by academics. Pseudoscientist means false scientist. Graham Hancock had been trying to get Zahi Hawass to debate him for a long time. Zahi finally agreed. Footage of what would occur was taken by an audience member with a cell phone. Before the debate even started, Zahi had walked out because he didn't want Graham to use research by Robert Bauval. But isn't that the point of a debate? To try to argue your point with whatever evidence is available? Zahi Hawass is screaming like a madman, while Graham is trying to explain his point. Graham would begin to make his presentation after Zahi had left, and after a while, Zahi would return. Zahi again made himself look like a fool, as he is getting visibly frustrated and sweating profusely. Graham explains Göbekli Tepe to everyone, which is mainstream accepted, and Zahi himself admits he doesn't know what it is, but he doesn't believe it to be true. This is the man in charge of Egypt. As I said, I will not get into the origins of the race that left behind these records, but I will mention that they almost certainly had advanced science and the capability of doing things we can't today. This civilization was destroyed at the end of the last ice age. Survivors settled in different parts of the world and began to leave behind the clues and the fingerprints of their great civilization in myth, art, and architecture. I believe that the pyramids had many purposes in ancient times. One of my personal beliefs is that they were used to simulate the journey through the Duat, which is the journey through the underworld. There are depictions of the Duat that show passages that look remarkably similar to the layout of the Great Pyramid. They would travel in darkness through the Duat, having entities jump out and scare them as they move forward. I think future pharaohs may have had to travel in darkness through the pyramid, which is tuned to a certain frequency. The subterranean chamber is thought to be unfinished. You mean to tell us that they built these perfect structures, and then as they were almost done, they said that's good enough, and they left? Does that make sense to you? The subterranean chamber was where the pyramid is tuned to a certain frequency. That is why it appears unfinished. The acoustics in the pyramid are amazing. The future pharaoh or initiate would attempt to make their way to the king's chamber, where they would lay in the so-called sarcophagus. People who have the privilege to lay in the sarcophagus when the pyramid is empty have experienced a mind-altering state, even if it's just slight. Imagine what laying in there in complete darkness might do. Surely it is possible they will enter a mind-altering state which is more intense. Maybe in this state, these select few were allowed access to the information of the past. I think it's very important that we understand and know our history. I look forward to the day when the real truth is known.